Abby give it, Abby take it away. I said, Brooke, is your mother speaking for you? Do you want to be
my face?
Girls out the room.
Yeah, you would eat it. You're making my daughter cry, so shut it.
Talk about what?
Yeah, how many times has my daughter beat your daughter this year? Fight. My weight was stacked against everybody this weekend because you did it. Get out of here now. Let's go.
Dance Moms is an unscripted reality television show that first aired in 2011. It focuses on a group of moms in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, as their young daughters dance under the notoriously dictatorial instructor Abby Lee Miller. Dance Moms has been heavily criticized for its on-screen events and the appropriateness of its subject matter.
Get your head out of your butt and wake up.
However, it is the reality TV production techniques and the televised nature of the young cast members' abuse that arguably results in the most harm to both cast members and audiences.
I can't breathe. Okay? I can't breathe.
Since children have first appeared in entertainment media, there have been questions about their safety and well-being. Numerous accounts of financial and labor exploitation, as well as workplace abuse over the years, have led to continued negative perceptions of youth treatment within the entertainment industry. We have had over a century to examine and mitigate these issues in TV and film by enforcing legal protections and on-site precautions for young actors, yet contemporary instances of abuse and exploitation in the industry are pervasive.
This was not your choice. It was kind of not your choice to go into this business. You were kind of pushed and forced into this business.
Well, my mother put me in the industry when I was 4 years old, and I think when you're 4 years old, you don't really know anything that you want to do. You want to be everything.
It's an evil, vile system. The people in it who run it are cruel, they are insensitive, they don't care about anybody but making money. And they don't care. The people in Hollywood would cut their own mothers' throats to make a buck.
On camera, he was the lovable and mischievous boy next door. Off camera, he was an angry child who claims he was abused almost daily by his studio guardians.
Since 2000, reality TV, the very nature of which relies on the exploitation of cast members, has significantly increased in popularity. The shift from primarily traditional television to the widespread production of reality shows has led to a gray area in the already ambiguous field of child actor laws. Additionally, the reality format, which often involves an intense filming schedule, event manipulation, and footage doctoring, creates added burdens and harm for cast members. Because of this, young reality show cast members are particularly vulnerable to hostile work environments, harmful producer intervention, and deceptive editing. Even with protections in place, such as the Coogan Act passed in 1938, which sets aside a certain percentage of young performers' earnings in a trust, and state child labor laws, it is clear that child performers, particularly those involved in reality television, continue to be exploited due to legal pluralism, contradictory laws, and ambiguous policy wording. For example, Judy Garland was supposed to be legally protected from financial mismanagement. However, her mother found a loophole in the policy by requesting stipends directly from her earnings. Dance Moms similarly takes advantage of legal loopholes and ambiguity. For example, in the state of Pennsylvania, minors under the age of 14 are generally prohibited from working entirely. However, there are exceptions for performing arts and related rehearsals. Dance Moms producer Brian Stinson explained that after season 1 of Dance Moms, a change in child labor laws restricted the amount of time they were able to film dancers. However, the first thing they chose to cease filming were the occasional fun segments, which were admittedly a reprieve for the girls, yet they continued filming the long, grueling rehearsals in the same manner they had previously.
You mean we didn't let you go out and have fun?
Yes, and have do the fun stuff. Like, there you did like the ice cream parlor with Abby
Yes.
girls and things like that, but we never did that anymore. That's
Well,
kind of what I was asking, like, why didn't you do that anymore?
I can tell you why. It's going to be a really boring answer. After season 1, they passed a lot of new child labor laws,
Mm,
our days really
mhm.
shrunk, and for
Yeah.
good reason, by the way. And so we got to a point where we couldn't get in the rehearsals, um, because we didn't have enough time to shoot with the kids,
Mm.
to
That
do a
makes
lot of the
sense.
fun stuff.
Yeah.
And then we got to a point where we couldn't do stuff with the kids without the moms being there. So that was
Mm.
part of one of the rules. So every year we would deal with this, like, how do we do what we did in season 1? And we physically, literally, even season 8 was terrible because we just couldn't get out and do the fun stuff that we wanted because we had to be there, shooting.
And then that took away time of them learning the dances.
This illustrates the main issue. Many reality television productions, including Dance Moms, are able to technically act within the law while participating in unethical, exploitative practices. Media ethics essentially boils down to ideas of what is right and wrong in the media. Issues that may arise include impartiality, objectivity, bias, and privacy. Additionally, media ethics can explore specific concerns within media messages, including the presence of stereotypical depictions, obscenity, and legal issues such as defamation. Based on several interviews with Dance Moms crew members, it is clear that many ethical boundaries were crossed during the production of Dance Moms.
Did producers ever feel bad for the instigated drama and maybe the emotional impact it caused?
Oh yeah, no. So this is how Aaron coined a term, it's called stuffing it down. So we would just eat to cover up how horrible we felt and like about sacrificing our morals on a daily basis. Like full family size pots of mac and cheese at night and cookies in the story room. Like, yeah, definitely.
But I don't understand. I mean, I guess I get it that they didn't want us to be friends because they had to like torture us the next day or whatever. But they would like fire people because they went out and had a drink with us.
Yeah, so there are two, like, I think really big reasons for like the big hesitation with fraternization. And I think the main one is that, as a producer, your goal has to be to make the best decisions for the show and for the production company. And if you become too close for a cast member, then you might make different decisions that don't reflect putting the show first. And so I know that's a big reason they don't want you to get too close because you can cloud your judgment. And then the other reason is like you could like tell them stuff about the production or about yourself that could leave the production liable in some way for something, So there's always like on every show I've ever worked on, there's always a huge talk at the beginning of the season about don't hang out with you guys outside of work.
There is very little doubt that Dance Moms is an unsafe work environment that violates media ethics principles due to deceptive editing and producer interference. However, looking at mass communication theory, particularly framing and cultivation theory, helps to highlight the impact of exploitation when it is portrayed worldwide. Today, 2 questions will be posed to see how Dance Moms' highly publicized nature can magnify impacts towards young cast members. These questions are, how do producers use interference in editing to create frames? And how does cultivation theory illustrate the impact of Dance Moms' portrayal of hostile environments and inappropriate behavior? These questions are also relevant to the discussion of ethicality, as both unfavorable framing and mass portrayal of harmful behaviors in Dance Moms calls measures of objectivity, impartiality, and public harm into question, in addition to the presence of defamation and stereotyping. Framing theory explains that the manner in which a message is presented to the audience influences how they process and interpret it. To understand framing, we can ask, how does the way something is portrayed affect how it is perceived? What narrative is being promoted to the audience? Framing is often discussed in the world of competition reality shows such as Survivor as getting a bad edit. As former cast members share their experiences, the clear framing on Dance Moms is often mentioned.
And also, it's a TV show and it has to be like all the girls are characters, all the moms are characters. We need to address all those things. So it's like it is.
Excuse me, James. I didn't like my character.
Yeah, I didn't either.
And I didn't like my girl's character. Can we go back and redo that?
You were a character on the show.
I know. I didn't like my character.
Well,
who picked up for me?
I'll tell you what, once I was in post, like we were visiting, and this is the last thing I'll say about this. We were visiting like in LA and we were in the editing booth or bay or, like the editing floor. And I remember seeing somebody reach up and pull a piece of paper off the wall that basically like had our names and what our characters were because they didn't want me to see it. Like it wouldn't be that hard to figure out.
No.
Christy, jealous. Kelly, party mom.
One of the most discussed methods of framing in Dance Moms is producer intervention. On Back to the Bar, Dance Moms producer Andy Leonard continues to explain how character arcs on the show are heavily produced.
I mean, just to be totally honest, and people are not going to love hearing this, but a big part of my job as a producer, at least on a docuseries, is to sit in a story room with the other producers and literally plan people's demise. And like, love doing that. So it's like a little sick and twisted and toxic, but that's just part of it. You put people in situations where they're going to fail, and then you get to build an arc that leads them to some sort of redemption, and that's how it works.
One common thread within Dance Moms is that certain girls were framed as bad dancers. Notably, in season 1 of Dance Moms, Paige Hyland is shown forgetting her dance. However, her mother Kelly Hyland explained that production and Abby intentionally withheld the royalty-free version of her solo music from her, preventing her from practicing with it until the day she performed, knowing she would forget it and causing drama for the show.
The girls did their solos from the studio, not just from the show. So they had learned these dances a while back.
Right.
So for months, Paige had been practicing the dance to, the music was called Boys, Boys, Boys by Lady Gaga. And then for rehearsals, she wasn't allowed to use any music. So they were just going by the counts. So the morning of is when she got to hear her music.
This makes my heart hurt.
When you practice a dance, there are certain sayings in the song, mark certain movements. When you totally take those words away and you've practiced for months and months with those words, and nobody lets you practice with it, and they throw you on a stage with totally different music, you're going to screw up. I don't care who you are. And this is my problem throughout the whole show. Is the fact that we had to do those things knowing that our kids were being set up. So I sent my 10-year-old out there knowing that this was going to happen in front of millions of people on a television show. And there was not a single thing I could do about it.
And they're put in this world where there are producers and there's people who are making a show and that's their job. And they're not realizing that it's affecting little kids. And that was the hard part of Dance Moms. The end, period.
Another way producers facilitated framing is through deceptive editing. Dance Moms cast member Peyton Ackerman explained that her portrayal as the bully was achieved completely through editing.
You need to fix that turnout.
I thought that I was better than most of the people.
You thought you were better than most of the people in this group? Oh, that's cocky.
But that's how I feel, performance-wise.
I was appalled. I cannot believe that a 14-year-old young adult would open her mouth and act like that in a room full of amazing dancers. Did you see everyone else dancing?
That's how I felt.
And there was so much drama. And they immediately made us look like the bad people, like the crazy ones, the bullies, all that stuff. I remember going to the competition on the first episode that I filmed, and they said, "Can you say that you think you did better than the other contestants?" Meaning the other groups. And I said, "Absolutely." And so I said that. They edited it and made it seem like I was saying it about the girls that I was dancing with. And from there, everybody that watched the show hated me. The girls on the show turned on me for the show. The moms turned on my mom. And it just was literally just a crazy entire mess. And up until I stopped filming, which I filmed for a couple seasons on and off, it never changed. It got to the point where I was getting death threats. People were calling my home phone in the middle of the night. People were showing up to our front door. My dad had to tell people, "Listen, you have to stop." Reality television isn't scripted, but it's not reality. Things are set up. They never hand you a script, but all I can tell you is that they set up situations that might have not actually happened, which causes a reaction and something to happen that wouldn't have if they didn't set it up. Does that make sense?
These examples of framing represent breaches of media ethics, as unfair and untrue portrayals led to damaged reputations and even personal danger. Cultivation theory explains that long-term exposure to certain media messages has the potential to shape how audiences perceive reality. How effective are producers' frames at convincing viewers that they are true? The answer is pretty effective. Numerous studies have shown that increased exposure to violence and aggressive behavior in media leads to the acceptance of such behavior in real life. Dance Moms is notorious for on-screen portrayals of mental abuse, including blatant manipulation from adults to children. Additionally, the presence of racist behavior, forced stereotypical depictions, along with culturally insensitive and wildly inappropriate dances, raises many ethical concerns.
If you don't do this and we don't win, it's gonna be your fault.
And the rest of the kids.
A little snake.
How dare you call my daughter a sneak?
Snake.
She's not a sneak. You're a sneak and a snake.
Every opportunity I have given you came from my heart. That was awful, Maddie. I don't deserve that. I didn't deserve any of it. There's always another kid. There's always somebody else. We love you. We were ready to work with you. And you sat out there.
I'm sorry.
Why didn't you get out of the car and go? No, I'm going in there.
I'm sorry.
Why is my daughter the only one dressed in animal print? All the other girls get costumes that aren't typecasting them.
And you know what? I want her in an afro.
It just seems so stereotypical.
It is stereotypical, absolutely.
But just like she's a token black kid.
I wouldn't use the word token. If I send her to an audition, it's gonna be an ethnic call. Nobody else is gonna get to go but her.
But when I'm thinking of, I'm looking at Nia, all of her routines, it seems, is like a jungle theme. There's a Satan theme. There's a little undertone or nuance that is like a little bit of a negativity that I would just like something that's a little bit more celebratory.
Then fix this hair, because it's horrible.
This is part of her ethnicity.
Well, it's weighing her down. It's weighing her down.
There are four other people
when you
here
made
that
it by the
behind.
last 3 weeks, Holly, it's like a log coming out of the side of her head.
I had braids on the show once, and my dance teacher told me that I wasn't allowed to have them because they were distracting, they looked ugly, and they basically looked like worms. So I had to take them out, and I wasn't allowed to have them. And here's me feeling good with my braids, and my dance teacher telling me that.
We have maids, we have socialites. Leave the story up to me.
So who's playing which different roles?
Holly, you know I typecast.
Oh, baby, let's just dance, dance. Let's just dance, baby. I just wanna dance, 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 dance. Can you feel it? Can you take it? Can you come and
The issue here is not only the abuse and exploitation the girls are subjected to, but the fact that audiences viewing are not only condoning this behavior, but encouraging it. As disturbing on-screen conduct brings higher viewership and better ratings, the producers will continue allowing it to occur. Additionally, it paves the way for more similar reality shows and more dance studios, teachers, and parents to act in ways they learned on TV. It is important that our legal frameworks evolve to protect more modern cases, such as children in reality TV and child influencers, so we can move forward and not backward from the dark days of child labor exploitation.